Hello class, today we are going to look at multiplication comparisons. What that means is we're going to compare two different things and we're going to use multiplication. Alright, so let's take a look at number 1. Number 1 says, Eddie walked 3/8 of a mile to school every day. His friend Kyle walks 7 times as far as he does. How many miles farther does Kyle walk to school than Eddie? I see the question is, how many miles farther does Kyle walk to school than Eddie? Now, poor Eddie, or actually poor Kyle, because he has to walk 7 times as much. But they don't want to know how far Kyle walks. They want to know how many miles farther. Well, I know that farther means what's the difference, which is a subtraction problem. I already know that Eddie walks 3/8 of a mile. Kyle walks 7 times as much as Eddie. So I know that his distance has to be 7 times 3/8. Please write that down. So I first have to solve how far does Kyle walk. I know 7 times 3 is equal to 21. And the denominator is still eighths because that's the size of the pieces. Now, the cool thing is, if you look at Eddie's distance, it's actually 3/8. So all we need to do now is subtract 3/8. Well, 21 minus 3, 20, 19, 18. Oh, okay, that's 18/8. So I can put here the difference, or how much farther Kyle walks, is 18/8. Now change that to a mixed number. I know that 8 times 2 is 16, so I can get 16/8, and then I'll have 2/8 left over. So that'll be 2 and 2/8. Be careful with these. You've got to say to yourself, what's the question and what's the clues? Often, the clues you have to solve to actually figure out the part. Let's take a look at number 2. Eric bought 4/5 of a pound of hot dogs on a camping trip. Tara brought 3 times as many pounds of hot dogs as Eric. How many pounds of hot dogs do they have all together? Okay, find the question. You should have realized, yes, how many pounds of hot dogs do they have all together? So all together, I know that I have to put their totals and combine them. It says here Eric brought 4/5 of 1 pound. Tara brought 3 times as many pounds as Eric. So that tells me that if Eric brought 4/5 of a pound, Tara brought 3 times, so her total has to be 3 times 4/5. So 3 times 4 equals 12, and that's fifths. Add it to the 4/5, and that equals 16/5. You could have, if you wanted to, have made a shortcut. Because Tara has 3 times and Eric has 1 time, you really could have just said 4 times 4/5. And that would have equaled 16/5. Sometimes you can take a shortcut, sometimes you can't. So, they have 16/5 all together. Don't forget, if you just figured out Tara's amount and you did not add it to Eric's amount, you did not answer the question. All you did was figure out a clue to help you solve the question. Now, I know that 5 times, let me think, 5, 10, 15, okay, that's 3 times, so that's 15/5, which equals 3 wholes. And then I also have 1/5 left over. So that would be 3 and 1/5. Now, Lastly, let's do number 3, but be very careful. Let's see what they're trying to get us to figure out. Paige needs to add 12/5 of a gallon of water to her aquarium. She has a jug that holds 3/5 of a gallon. How many jugs of water does Paige need to add? Okay, so what's the question? Yes, you're right. How many jugs of water does she need to add? Let's think about what's going on. She needs total 12/5 of a gallon of water to her aquarium. Draw a quick picture of an aquarium. This total aquarium needs 12/5, right? She's got her little jug. Draw a little handle. It can only hold 3/5. So maybe what's happening is she goes to the faucet, she fills up her 3/5 of a gallon jug, goes to dump it in the aquarium, and then she has to keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. How many times would she have to fill up her aquarium to get it full? Now the nice thing is here, if you notice, they're both fits. So really, how many gallon jugs would it take to fill this up? So let's think about that. We have 3/5. Draw another gallon. That's 3/5. I noticed that the numerator is 12. How many times 3 would it take to get to 12? Yes, if you said 4, you are correct. 3 plus 3 is 6. So 3 plus 3 is 6. Add another gallon. That's 9. Add the last gallon, and that's 12. Oh, okay. I meant to put 3 there, sorry. Yeah, so 3 is 12. It would take 4 jugs of water for her to add. Now, be very careful when you're answering these next questions. Go ahead and finish the rest. If it helps, draw a quick picture. You definitely need to show your work. You've got to say to yourself, what's the question? What are the clues? And if they didn't give you enough information for the clue, you have to solve the clue and then solve the question. If you need help, you can ask your class or you can ask the teacher. Whatever you don't finish is homework that we will go over tomorrow. All right? I'll see you tomorrow.